Hey everyone, I'm back in DAZ Studio and I'm here to show you how to set up a 3D camera, because last video I just kind of winged it and I was saying, well, maybe if you zeroed the cameras it would work. Well, I found out that's exactly what you should do. So I've got this little scene in here and I've got this bike guy and I've got a 3D text out in front of him so that we can have that kind of like popping out of the screen hopefully. And we're going to set up a camera, or a 3D camera. So we create a new camera. Just go up to create. I already selected it. I did that quite fast. I'll go to create. New camera. It's right at the top of the menu. You can't miss it. Copy the active view, which is perspective view. That's what's right here. And we're going to rename this camera, or you can rename it once you're done making the camera. It doesn't matter. Whoops. I got ahead of myself starting to do the right camera. So here we have L for the left camera. And now we have to zero out all of these numbers. And that's easy to do. With DAZ Studio, you just hold down Alt and you click on the control bars, or whatever you want to call these sliders, and it zeroes out as you're holding the Alt key. So if you're using a Mac, I don't know if it's still Alt, but on a PC with Windows, that's how it works. Alt key and just click on each one and it'll zero it out. So now if we look through our left camera, you'll see it's on the ground. It's zeroed out. It's at absolute zero. That's where we want it. And now we're going to create another camera, and I'm going to copy the left camera. If I wasn't in the left view and I wanted to do this, I haven't actually made that camera. I just canceled out. So if I was in perspective view instead of the left view like this, I could go up here, create a camera, and then I could select L, and it should copy the L camera. And I'm going to leave it named as camera for right now to show you how to rename. You just click in there, you just click once, and then you rename it. So now right camera should be the same place as left camera because I said copy left camera, and it is. So we go from left to right, there's no difference. It's all zeroed out. Now we want to go to right camera and we want to go to X translate, and I usually do about 4 on that. But if the subject is further away from the camera, you want more separation between the two cameras, so you want to do probably 6, maybe 8 or so, but I find 4 is pretty decent for a full-size figure all in the full screen if they're standing up. So for this view, I think that'll work. So now we've got the left camera at absolute 0. We've got the right camera with a X translate of 4. Maybe we'll go 5. I don't know. But for my demo picture, I went 4, so I'll just leave it there. Okay, so now we can select these two by clicking on one and then holding down Shift and selecting the other one. Or if they were separated, for instance, if this was a camera up here and that was your camera, you could click you could click the other camera by holding the control key. It's just simple stuff that you can do in almost any Windows program. Just multi-select. So anyway, we're just going to do that. So I just pressed Shift and selected that, or I could have pressed Control and selected that. Now they're both grouped together, so to speak, but we're going to make a real group, and that is just go to Create and then say New Group. And then we're going to name this 3D Cam, and I'm just going to select this and copy it by doing Control C. That's also on Windows, so it may be different on a Mac. And Control V to paste it into the next thing. And now we've got both of those cameras we selected inside of 3D Cam. Now I'm going to tell you something very important. This is something that I did the other day, and it's very strange, but if you don't go to perimeters and actually select 3D Cam, it may start moving one or other of your cams. In my case, it was the left camera. It started actually rotating just the left camera. So make sure you go to perimeters, 3D Cam, and you've got 3D Cam selected here, and then you can adjust your view. And that's what we're going to do now. So we want to go away from the biker like that. We want to go up like this. We want to go away a little more because we want to get the top of his head in there. and then we're going to shift it over here like that. Now this is moving both of the cameras because this is a group of cameras. You're looking through the left camera, but if I switch to right, you can see that it switches it shifts just a little bit. But these things are both tied into 3D cam. So make sure you've got 3D cam selected. Move this where you want it. And we're going to leave a little space because it may be, let's see, no, it shifts to the left. So you can actually, if you wanted to, you can butt it right up against there, and then when you go to the next thing to go to the right camera, it'll be fine. So any way you want to do it, you can do this. You can do rotation. You can rotate the 3D cam all around. You can rotate it like that. You got Batman going on here. I don't know if anybody even remembers the Batman where they had the tilted screens. They call that a Dutch tilt, by the way. Anyway, you can look down, you can look up, you can put the camera pretty much anywhere a camera can go. I'm just going to zero these out right here. And so we've got it set. Well, maybe not quite. Let me rotate it a little bit and then we'll translate it. There we go. I think that's about what I had before. I've already rendered my picture, but I'll show you briefly how to render it. So first, you're on say the left camera. Then you go to your render settings. And I've got render settings already here on the tab here. And then you go up here and you set it to, oh, I want to render the current frame, a still image, and I want to render it in a new window or whatever you want to do. You can go straight to a file if you want and then type the file name in here. But whatever. I'll just briefly type in bike-l. That way I remember what it is and we'll go ahead and render it. I don't know what this will do to my recording, whether it's going to make it bog down or crash or whatever. So fingers crossed. So this takes a little while. iRay will initialize and then it should start showing up pretty soon. You can scroll with the scroll bars right here. And we're rendering in HD. You can render all the way up to 8K, probably beyond, if you wanted to do a custom. I've got filtering on here, so it comes up looking fairly nice right away because it puts the filter on right away. It does kind of ruin some skin texture, but I'm not too concerned about it in this application. So it looks pretty nice. We can wait till it actually goes all the way through, or we can just go ahead and cancel it, which I'm going to do just so it won't ruin my recording, hopefully. So we've rendered the left image. So we save this as bike L or whatever. So save. I'm not going to save it right now because I've already rendered this. And then you go to right. And then you just type in R for that. And then you render it again. Boom. Okay. So I'm going to cancel this and then I'll show you how to put it together in 3D using Stereo Photo Maker. Okay, here we are in Stereo Photo Maker, and you can get this for free online. I'll put a description. No, I'm not going to put a description. I'm going to put a link in the description for you. That'll probably work better. If I go to File and then say Open Left Right Images, and then go to wherever I've rendered my images, which they just happen to be here by magic, and just select the left one. That's all you have to do, and then say Open. Then it'll detect, because of the way we named it, that it needs to have one called R. So you say yes, and here it is. Now you can put it into whatever kind of stereo type you want. We'll put it in Dubois anaglyph for right now, just so you can see it, because I'm not actually filming this in 3D, and yes, it's in 3D. So there you go. You can use, this program has all kinds of different settings. You can do side by side half, you can do above below as they call it, or over under, whatever you know it as. You can do half, you can do full, whatever. As you're saving it out, just remember that if you go over here and say save as stereo image, it will save it in whatever format. So if you've got full, you're going to have those full screens of HD and HD on top of each other, or HD and HD beside each other. But if you set this on side by side half or above below half, it's going to squish those into one HD picture. Okay, that's how it will work. So just keep that in mind. And then of course, if you're doing just anaglyph, then it'll just be an HD picture or whatever you render it out as. And of course, you can adjust like this by doing the arrow keys back and forth, left and right arrow keys. You can actually adjust that before you save it. But you should do it before you save it. Okay, so that's about it for 3D cameras and DAZ Studio. iClone has 3D built in, so I don't have to describe that to you. And I hear that Blender has 3D built in, so you don't need that. I'll show you how to do a VR 360 camera. So we'll set up a new camera just by saying create new camera. We're going to name it VR. And I'll put a label as VR. And we'll do the active view. So here we go. And then I'll switch this to VR view. Oh, that's strange. It didn't copy the active view. That's very strange. I wonder why it did that. Oh well. We can do whatever we want with this camera because it's a single camera and we don't have to worry. See, you can see the other cameras that are right next to each other. You don't want to accidentally hit the left one and then start moving this around or anything. You want to always be on 3D cam if you're using that. But back to VR for right now. So VR, we've got perimeters here, and if you go to lens, go to lens distortion type. Lens. Okay. Anyway, you click on spherical, and that will give you a 360 spherical camera. And now you just render it out, and I'm just going to type in left or whatever. I'm not actually going to do that, but I will show you what it looks like. If you go to iRay, it will actually show you how the lens looks. It looks very weird. And you'll see it in just a moment, hopefully. See? There's our guy, there's the big smoke and all that. Of course, it's allowing me to select things that are actually in the background. If we zoom in, which we will probably want to do if we're doing VR, you can see that it's right in the middle of the picture. And then if we go out of here to, say, cartoon shaded or something, we'll see what we actually will see in VR. Remember, we're going to see everything. We're going to see 360 around this guy. We'll see all of this. So even if his head is outside of this little window here, you're going to see it in VR. Everything in the scene is going to be in VR. And I don't have a sky back here, so I should actually add a sky for that. But if you really want your humans to look realistic, you want to be a little bit above their head. If they're standing, you want to have a little gap above their head because it'll make them look more realistic, like they're actually standing in front of you. So that's just a little tip for VR. Now, the next thing you'll want to do after you render this, so you render it like that, then you render it again, but you go over to lens stereo offset and you type in, I usually do 25. 25 will give you a pretty good VR picture. You may want to go to 30 or whatever your taste is, but I usually do 25. And then you just go over there, type in R or whatever for your file name, and then you render it again. So basically, you just go, you render it once with 0 on the stereo offset, render it as left or whatever. I usually do left. And then you render it again as right. And then once you've got those two pictures, you go into the stereo photo maker. I keep wanting to call it movie maker, but that's another thing that you can also download for free from the same website. And then you go in here, and I usually just do above below. I want the full screen for that. But if you really want to, you want to save some memory or something, then you can do half height. But remember, whatever you choose here, you will be saving. So if you accidentally saved it as half height, and then later you're going, oh my gosh, I wanted that full resolution. If you accidentally forget what you're doing and you do half height, you're only going to have one HD image with them smooshed together. And you don't want to be doing HD for VR. You want to do probably 8K. So you're going to want to have 8K on top and 8K on the bottom. I've done the squished one, and I've done the ones that were full resolution. My VR setup works just as well with both of those. So do whatever your computer can handle, and do whatever makes you happy. And I'll see you in the next video, and hopefully it'll be in 3D instead of this nonsense. I'm trapped in this box. Can somebody send help? Seriously.